in the history of mankind. And therefore, the correction is going to be very, very difficult. But what they're doing now, and I've been quoted in the media in this very week, is that they're doing the very thing, but in a more massive way, what we did in the Depression. We try to prop up the mistakes and the bad debt and not allow the correction to occur. So therefore, everything that we were pretending to do this week as a benefit is actually very detrimental and will turn it into a depression if we don't wake up. Now, people say during the week they would lobby and they say, if you don't vote for this, we're going to have a tough economic downturn. I said, you're right. It's going to be tough if we don't vote for that. But if we do vote for it, it's going to be a lot worse. And but the recession or depression is locked into place by the previous inflation. So the inflation of the 20s guaranteed that there would be a recession. But the 1921 recession coming out of World War I was short because we didn't try to prop it up and delay it. By the time we got to the 30s, we were so much smarter that we could, take care of everything and make sure nobody suffered. Then we had the Grand Depression. And then the great grand fallacy that came out of that, well, first they said it was capitalism and the gold standard was the cause, and the solution was war. And we haven't overcome that yet. There's still a lot of people in this country that believe a war economy is beneficial to us. A war economy is never beneficial. Sure, they say, well, you build an airplane. You build an airplane, the worker gets good salaries, and the corporations have war profits. Yeah, but how many other people lost? And what did you produce? An airplane or a helicopter or bullets and bombs that go over and bomb somebody? Weakens our national defense because we have more enemies. Then, of course, when we bomb somebody, we always have to go and rebuild it. Makes no sense. And we've been over there 10 years even before we got into the invasion, all through the 90s. We kept bombing Iraq, and now we've destroyed so much of their infrastructure, and we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars over there. So first, you're taxed to blow up their bridges, then you're taxed to rebuild the bridges. At the same time, our own bridges are falling down. And we're broke. But guess what? The good news is it's coming to an end. The empire is going to end. Not because I'm going to be persuasive or they'll pay any attention to my floor speeches, but because we will not be able to afford it. There's only one question: what will come of it all? We're not a whole lot different than the situation the Soviet Empire was in 1989. They lost not because we bombed them and fought with them. We didn't have to. It was a non-viable economic system. And they finally went broke, and they had to leave Afghanistan and pull back. And then that's what will happen to us. But you'd think we would learn a lesson. You'd think we would understand that. There we were back when we were fighting the Soviets. Our own CIA supported and sponsored radical Islam to go with Osama bin Laden to fight the Soviets, and now they've turned against us, and we wonder why. Well, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Then if they just look and listen to what Osama bin Laden has been saying, it's not that complicated. He said, well, we can't stand your occupation over there. You prop up puppet governments, and you put troops on our holy land, and we don't like it. We want you out of here, and we're going to teach you a lesson. And so they attack him. And he says, what we'll get you to do is get you involved in a land war over here. And what do? It was beyond their expectations. Here we are in Afghanistan and in Iraq, threatening Iran. Now we're fighting with Pakistan, and we're sending more money to Georgia. And the whole goal of Osama bin Laden was to get us so engaged that it would diminish our national defense, demoralize our people here, and bankrupt our country. And they say that if you say those kind of things, I'm unpatriotic, that we're unpatriotic. But a true patriot isn't one that succumbs and obeys everything our government tells us. It's to believe in the people and to believe in the country and to believe in freedom. That's what patriotism is all about. So my answer to the many problems we have today is to continue what you have been doing. Continue to educate. Continue to rally the troops. You've had a grand rally here. We had one a few weeks ago that John participated in. But this was a grand rally, too. You had a lot of people show up. I understand there may even be some people that aren't even in this room. They may be out and around and listening. And this means there is a lot of interest, and the opportunity is there, and we must continue with this momentum. Not with the idea that all of a sudden we're to change the Congress, and I know that's always been one of the goals of the Birch Society, and I think it's a proper goal, is to work with changing Congress, and we have to continue to do that. But I'm not optimistic enough to say that next year we're going to get 5, or this year we'll get 5 new ones, and next year 20, and soon we're going to have a majority, and we're going to pass laws, and everything is going to reverse itself. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. We should continue to work that way, and maybe because sometimes we don't know the results. Certainly, I have found results being more better than I had anticipated. But we're in the midst of this economic crisis. Something's going to have to happen with our world empire, and we as a nation, as a people, and as a younger generation as well, we will have to decide what we're going to do with our country. It will be decided. We won't have any choice. You cannot maintain the status quo. If you do nothing, you're going to get dictatorship. If we think it's worth fighting for, we're going to have to fight for it, and the enthusiasm is there for this. And we can restore the republic. That is the purpose. This week on one of the interview programs, somebody, they were asking me about the financial situation. They said, well, a lot of people wrote in there and got you to vote against this, and then at the end of the week they called and people voted, and they said, isn't that a good example of what a republic is supposed to do? And I said, no, that's not it. That's sort of closer to the dictatorship of the majority and the control by the special interest. That's not the republic that we're talking about. We're talking about a minimal federal government, one that has our courts and national defense and a few things that we might need. But the true republic is local government, not international government. It's local government, not congregated up in Washington, D.C., but at the local level, at the state levels, at the county levels, and minimal government. And we have to have confidence that free people can take care of themselves. It's confidence is what we need. We've lost our confidence that freedom really works, and it does. But the opportunity is here because most people in this country, if you ask them, does Washington really work? Does government work very well? And they'll say no. But there's still, the large majority in the country still think that they have to be taken care of. But that'll change because we won't be able to. And therefore, we will have to meet our responsibility and present our views in a positive way because we don't want to have to resort to violence, and it will be violent if we don't do something because there will be a lot of people very annoyed and very unhappy with the conditions we have. So it is a wonderful thing that we have our traditions. We're not in as bad a shape as the Soviet system was because they did not have our traditions. We at least know about, and the remnant remembers that we did have a gold standard and sound money and limited government and contract and self-reliance and responsibility for ourselves. I mean, we have a tradition that is not that difficult. It just means that we have to emphasize it and be willing to go back to work. This is the reason why I come with a positive message and a congratulations to you for all that you have done and all the work that you have done, and also to say that if you continue this and rally the next generation and rally the troops now, do what you can to influence your current member of Congress. Do what you can to get better members of Congress, all these things. And everybody has a job, but it might not be the same job. It's not the same. Everybody has a different job. It turned out that my job was different than I would have predicted and different than other people. But if you know and understand what the issues are and you can defend our position and can defend what America is all about, believe me, there will be a role for you to play, and that is what we need. And our numbers are growing. It isn't like we're shrinking, and we don't have to have 51%. People who carry a revolution are small in numbers. They're dedicated. They're principled. They understand it. It might be 5% of the population, and I believe we're there. If because the people that supported our campaign this last year and a half, they were visible. They were more visible than all the other candidates put together. because they were true believers. Now, will there be one organization? No, I don't think so. The more organizations, the better. But there should be one philosophy, the philosophy of liberty. Congratulations, and thank you very much for having me tonight.